Hello, guys. Welcome back to Lunatic Astrology. I'm your astrologer, Lori Lothian, and today we're talking all about this amazingly intense Leo full moon that's coming up in the sky. And oh boy, are we ever going to get through a time of getting unstuck. I want to call this one the Big Unstuck on February 16th, 2022. Now, why is it such a big deal? What am I talking about? One, we got a big grand cross in the sky. A grand cross is like, yeah, crucify me. It's a big box. It's scary stuff energetically because it's a bunch of oppositions bound together by squares, and it's full of intensity. And it's the south node and north node in Scorpio and Taurus squaring the moon and the sun. And it's a tight square. They're all sitting at 27 degrees of their various signs. Aquarius for the sun, Leo for the moon, and the nodes, as I said, Taurus and Scorpio. So number one, we have to address the quality of a temporary grand cross in the sky. And then on top of that, holy man, did we ever have some amazing asteroids acting up here, as well as fixed stars. So one of the big fixed stars is Regulus. It's like Born to Rule, Little King. Donald Trump has it on his ascendant. It's playing a part by sitting with the moon in the sky during this big grand cross. We also have a bunch of other cool things going on as well, such as the sun is conjunct Uranus at the same time that Mercury is conjunct Pan for pandemic. And oh my God, what else can we say? It's just crazy ass. So I want to talk about, and North Node is conjunct Apollo. Apollo is the god of plagues, Pan, of course, for pandemic, where Mercury is sitting in the sky at the same time as this eclipse. So where I'm kind of going with this whole story, there's a lot of sky action happening that's quite unusual and interesting. And Mercury, of course, being the messenger of the gods, just having conjunct Pluto on February 11th, has now freed past that Pluto story and is sitting at 1 degree of Aquarius, where he is with pandemic, asteroid, and it's the same house that the sun is sitting in, right? So that's why we're talking about it. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to do the all signs. So I want to remind you to look at your rising sign. At first, it's going to be accurate because it's connected to your time of birth. So it's really lovely. It's really connected to uniquely who you are. And then your sun can be actually good for you if you want to look at career and purpose energy in the descriptions of the delineations. And the moon can be more how your emotional default setting is. And some astrology will say look at your moon, especially if you're born at night. But I want to say that listening to your rising sign, even that is general, right? Something like a real personal natal chart reading, but it gives you a lot of juice and often is quite alarmingly accurate. Don't forget, if you're listening to my channel, please like, please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, make comments. I read all of my comments and I respond as well because it helps my channel grow. And I have a really cool course coming up, a personal abundance astrology course coming up in March. Check the link below. It's going to be so much fun. The soul of money based on your natal chart and how to harness prosperity cycles in the sky. And I have a bunch of other little courses I'm teaching in March as well. All the links into to all my courses in the Learn Astrology button down below from the description box here. Okay, let's start talking first and foremost about what's happening for the world. Do you guys want to see what a grand cross looks like in the sky? Let me pull it up for you. And then we're going to go to all signs, okay? That's what it looks like, right? It looks like a giant box. Or, if the lines were drawn between the nodal axis, you'd see, which it should be, but the software didn't include it, you would see a cross, an equidistant cross. Now, this is a fixed cross. These signs that they are in, Taurus, North Node, Moon in Leo, South Node in Scorpio, Sun in Aquarius, are fixed signs. Fixed signs are the element of immovability, unshakability, stubbornness, not liking change, steady as she goes, status quo is good for me. Change resistance could be a good word for a fixed sign energy. And now it's all bound into this tension of the elements that are involved as well. The moon is in fire, the south node is in water, the sun is in air, and the north node is in earth. So we have the four elements bound into an intense, change resistant, fixed grand cross. And people born with this have to deal with this. Are people born with these grand crosses and fixed signs, and they have to learn how to break out of ruts, how to get into the change mode, how to get unstuck. A lot of pressure for them in life to get out of ruts, autopilot, and stuff like that. In our collective sky, we can simply say the challenge for the collective is to break free of some shackle or chain or straitjacket type fixed energy that's is holding us in a lockage of some kind, like locked in. Now, honestly, the South Node and North Node just got in January 18th to these fixed signs of Taurus and Scorpio, but there was an eclipse activating this part of the sky anyway back in November on the 19th, which signaled the end of the pandemic. And I did a video about that. Check my playlist for the eclipses and you'll see how I called the end of the pandemic in that particular video. So I do want to say that some of what we're seeing here is what's going on for real in the sky. Right now we have Mars going through Capricorn as I'm recording this today, or whatever day it is February the something. This goes to my Patreon community first, February the 9th. And we have a trucker convoy parked in Ottawa, Canada. I'm Canadian. We have trucker movements everywhere. We have protests trying to break out of what we've had in Canada as severe mandates, lockdowns, and restrictions around the virus, because Canada ranks in the top 10 countries in the world for severity of these kinds of restrictions. And now the population simmering resentment and anger as they see countries like Denmark and England and other things throw it all away. Like, no more restrictions, game off, Omicron's like the flu. It's funny, Saskatchewan and British Columbia, Saskatchewan and Alberta are two provinces in Canada, like states in America, who just threw away the restrictions, okay? But the federal government has mandates in place as well that Canadians are starting to protest against. And I had a friend to ask me if it was just me or my friends like this, kind of insinuating that I was the rare case of, I don't know, simmering resentment at lockdowns and mandates. And no, it happens to be quite common right now that the polite Canadian way is finally gone. Like, we can't take this anymore. We're not listening to our dictator prime minister. I mean, people are saying things like that. I'm not saying I'm saying that. So let's go back and talk about the collective a little more before we do your sign. And your sign is going to be about you and how you break out of some stuck place and how the sky is offering you the chance to liberate yourself from some restriction or some part of your life that needs change, but you're afraid to do it or uncertain about it. Okay, or stuck in the mud about it. So number one, the star Regulus, born to rule, really a big energy. It's a royal Persian star. Donald Trump has it on the ascendant. That's why he won the election. That's why he fell from power, because Regulus, born to rule, has this little clause like, be careful you don't fall from power because you're such a prideful, arrogant person. And that's exactly what happened perhaps to him. So that Regulus is sitting in the sky. Right now it's at 0 degrees of Virgo, but it's an orb of this full moon, really. And so Regulus is there along with the star Alphard, which has a lot to do with avoiding toxic power plays. Okay, that's one of the things it could be about, not to get into struggles around power. And those two things are sitting with the moon. So keep that in mind contextually, okay? Circe the witch, who created magical potions, is sitting here as well. And she was also a lot about being willing to do things your own way, break the rules. And she's about transmutation and magic and sorcery in your own sky. Having Circe the witch on this moon may be relevant. For the collective, I'm not sure what to make of that. The sun is on Urania. Urania is one of the muses of Greek mythology. And she was definitely known because she was for astronomy, astrology, music, song, and dance, and she's sitting with the sun at the time of this moon. So she's carrying energy on the sun that the moon is reflecting. Now, it can also have a lot to do with being willing to look at the deeper issues in life and having an interest in knowledge for knowledge's sake. Okay, knowledge for knowledge's sake. And to me, that could very much be what's happening here. People are seeking knowledge in Aquarius. We, the people, want to know what the frick is going on. I didn't draw it in here, but Saturn's sitting in here. That's the structures and the rules and the rigidity that we've been experiencing. Mercury just is sitting here on Pan for pandemic, really. Let me put him in there if I can. Let me see. So I'll show you where Mercury sits, okay? Displayed, where is it? Preferences. Oh, it's not letting me do it properly. It's like too off. Okay. Oh, there it is. I found it. Let's put in Mercury and let's put in Saturn so you can see what I mean. And you'll know that I'm talking about an interesting Aquarian sky. So Saturn has been, someone jokingly said fear of air a few years ago when the pandemic started, when he got into this part of the sky in December 20. But also it's kind of like, He's got the rules he's trying to put into place and the structures. That's what Saturn likes to do. And here's Mercury at 1 degree conjunct the asteroid Pan for pandemic. Well, at the same time, this north node is conjunct Apollo, the god of plagues. And you can see that the two of them are talking to each other in a square. So there's something about this energy here of Apollo and pandemic, squaring off against each other. And at the same time, the sun is on this asteroid that asks us to look for knowledge and go into what is true by researching things or understanding them, right? So all thoughts I have. And I don't know, but the moon on Regulus, you see, the moon is the people, we the people, the population, the masses. It's a lunar element of a mundane sky, and it's on Born to Rule. And I think that's about overthrowing or trying to overturn or rule over this energy of the structures, the restrictions, the rules that Saturn is trying to place on the storyline here. That's my take. So expect some really big breakdowns in the power structures around the vaccine mandates and the vaccine controls. A friend of mine and we're talking today that they're trying to make kindergarten to age 12 kids in California get vaccinated by mandate, and now there's an uprising. So there's going to be more and more of this kind of thing happening as this 2 weeks unfolds from the February 16th moon. Already? So, and in your own life, you'll be breaking free of anything that feels like a confinement, restriction, a jail cell, or a straitjacket. You get the gist, like, get me out of here. And, I want to say one last thing. Breaking free and breaking through is not always easy. It's not an easy job. And so I'm not saying that it's easy, but I'm saying each of us has a chance in the 2 weeks that follow this full moon to do that kind of breaking through. If you go back 6 months ago when there was a new moon in Leo, you may have started something that is relevant or germane to what's trying to break through right now. Let me check the date of that moon. August the 9th. So go back to August, and I got blueberry water, guys, as I'm trying this new device here. Go back to August the 9th and think about the 2 weeks that followed. What were you doing? What new beginnings were you inciting or making in your life that may be coming to a fullness, a fruition, a culminating energy in the full moon in the Leo sky? But also don't forget, you're now feeling like you need to really break through something. So let's get going with the all signs. Reminding you again to like and subscribe. Please hit the bell for notifications. Join my Cosmic Moonshine newsletter if you like. 30% discount code for a reading with me. And you get a bunch of other free gifts as soon as you sign up. Automatic email in your box giving you a bunch of freebies and the discount code itself. And it's a weekly forecast newsletter every Sunday. Cosmic Moonshine, a swig of astrology news straight to your inbox already. All right, let's start off with the Aries, obviously, because they're first. I'm an Aries sun moon. We go first. Yay. So Aries sun moon rising sign. Well, here, let's focus on the moon, right? It's in your 5th house. 5th house of what? Romance. 5th house of children. 5th house of fun and sexuality and play, pleasure, but deeper than that, the joy house. Where do you find your inspiration in life? What gives you a reason to get out of bed in the morning besides a cup of coffee? Well, I mean, that's my reason to get out of bed, because I only have to drink 1 cup a day, and it's that first cup of the day, it makes my day, right? It's like everything is about my first cup of coffee. How are you possibly now going to be asked to look at that joy house, really, where Regulus sits, born to rule in the joy in your life, and move it up a notch? Break free of what is constraining your joy, and fun and play and pleasure and romance and inspiration and hearing the creative muse. So this is your chance over the next 2 weeks. Go back to August 9th. Of course, what were you beginning? I was beginning writing a novel. Now I'm into it. Maybe this is a breakthrough in the energy of how fast I'm writing it, because the 5th house for an Aries is my house of the creative muse. I'm an Aries sun. And also remember that with the energy of the nodal axis, kind of squaring this whole thing, you're coming against grit from your earnings house, the 2nd house where the north node is. And it's kind of like you're trying to extend your financial flow and your abundance and your resources and possessions, while at the same time, you must do it with joy in mind. You must anchor it in joy. That North Node is an applying energy toward that moon in the sky energetically. The North Node is not a planet, it is a math position, but in ancient Vedic astrology, it's considered to be like a planet. All right. So there's this energy of like money and joy, and how can you resolve the thing between the two? It's not joy or money, right? It's joy and money. So I want you to think of it that way. That's your mission. Should you choose to accept it, find the joy money code and run with it, and you'll be more resourceful and more prosperous and more juiced up. Okay. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. So this full moon, Leo full moon at 27 degrees is shining a big bright light in the 4th house of where you live, your home, your root, your anchor, the apartment, your domestic private life, you know, when you go home after a day of work kind of vibe. What wants to shine in this part of the sky, right? With Regulus, the king, the royal Persian star of born to rule, connected with Archangel Raphael. How can you make your home a kingdom? What do you need to do within the private life of your life, your home, your apartment, whether you have people living with you or not, to make yourself feel like the king or queen of your home? And with the North Node in Taurus, applying or leaning toward a square, right, to your moon, then the question that gets begged in this moment is something along the lines of how can you, and you know, North Node's on Apollo, the sun god, how can you make differences or changes in your first house, Taurus North Node, especially if you're a Taurus with your ascendant anywhere in the last 10 degrees of Taurus, you know, 20 to 29, or your sun and moon, you're really feeling this. So how can you make changes in your physical wellness and your body and the ways you go about being you in the world? And you've got Uranus in there right now to amplifying things, making you way outside the box and willing to change up who you think you are and break all the rules and find freedom in being you, and you be you is what's going on here. And how can that energy kind of be in a alignment without too much structure or conflict or restriction in being the queen or king of your domestic home environment? What happened in August around the 9th, because whatever was happening back then may be related to this particular sky right now. And, you know, who knows? It could be anything, guys. You've got a lot of pressure coming from the sun, Saturn in the 10th house of career. Maybe things going on in your work and career environment are giving you difficulty compared to how you'd like to feel like the master of your domestic kingdom. And the North Node is saying, well, I'm pushing you to do things in and from your body and beingness that allow you to experience reign and sovereignty in your private and home life. And some of this could just be things like getting a bigger house, moving to a better place, redecorating your entire home, or something like that. All right, we're going to keep moving. Excuse me, my software just did something weird. Gemini, sun, moon, rising sign. So come on, guys, this is a very interesting time for you to have this lunar light shining in a full moon in your 3rd house of your siblings and your cousins and uncles and aunts and your domestic travel, short trips and travel. And maybe to some degree, if you want to learn something, like you want to learn, take a course or do something like that, this is definitely an opportunity for something to happen here, like shining a light in this learning house or traveling house or extended family house or local neighborhood as well. And go back to think about August 9th, what was happening with those themes in your life, because now there's a culminating fullness that's coming here like over the next couple of weeks. And maybe also with the North Node applying energy from you on Apollo, you know, the sun god energetically from your 12th house. Is there any chance that you may find that your inner life, like your self-reflection, contemplation, your own self-undoing habits and addictions even, can be working against you? And you need to understand what's going on within you to break free in that third house, with the sun and Saturn opposing things from the ninth house of the law or higher education or religious beliefs. There's a lot of need to break free of those things, the law, the religious beliefs, the professorial oversight or something like that, and get really down with what the house of the goddess is wanting you to understand. The moon has her joy in the third house. This is the house of the goddess where we have synchronicity and we have all kinds of cool stuff happening. And magic and scryers and seers and serendipity. It's a cool, like kind of mystical, magical goddess place. And so moon in the joy in the third house is trying to break you into a fullness here already of some kind. I'd definitely say if you've been trying to postpone a trip or you wanted to travel, this is definitely the time. And if you've been struggling with your beliefs around God, truth, and wisdom and the way the universe works, it's time to break free of that straitjacket as well. Maybe you're ready for a new spiritual belief. Okay, next, what we have going on for you, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign people, is on our agenda. Alrighty, so Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. The full moon is shining a big, brilliant light in your natal second house of money. Now, when I say money, I mean like your earnings or your possessions or your salary or your wages. Sometimes it's connected to self-worth and self-value as well, and what you want to do in your voice, calling, and vocation. But it's really a money house, basically. So we're looking at, for a lot of Cancers, a big bright light over the next 2 weeks, bringing this kind of lush money opportunity. But you've got to break free, break through, get unstuck in order for this to fully materialize. And going back to around August the 9th, add a couple of weeks, you might get a sense of where this seed was planted for what is culminating in this fruiting moon now. You've got a lot of energy applying from the North Node in Taurus, from your 11th house of friends and benefactors and great gains from your career. So another money house, reputation rising to greater stature from your career as well, rewards from your career. And you're what you truly aspire to. What do you want? What do you imagine? What do you hope for your life? And that North Node is activating this stuff for the next year and a half for you. And at this particular moon, the pressure is on to find the balance between that resourceful fullness and the money that can flow to you, and how you are aligning or not with your truest wishes and dreams and hopes for your life, and also letting yourself receive benefits and favors from friends, seriously, favors from friends. I think Cancer sometimes in the little shell aren't willing to receive the love and favors from friends that can come their way. Saturn in your 8th house and the sun, of course, is opposing the moon, right? So it could be like, don't rely on your life savings or your retirement portfolio or your spousal money right now. It's time to get your little bit of your own hustle on and break free of any kind of restrictions on that financial flow front. Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. So you guys are experiencing the moon in its full glory, all right, shining in big, bright light in the house of you, your body, your sense of who you are, your big, loving, courageous, bold, flamboyant self is being highlighted as the moon shines a full light in the house of you, especially rising sign Leo, but sun and moon people feel this as well. And so you're going to feel a lot of the light of the moon is very revelatory about how it reflects the light of the sun, which is your soul. So you may have a lot of revealing energy happening in this 2 weeks after this moon, of self-understanding about who you are and what you're here for, or who you wish to be. And there is a pressure of sorts from the North Node, and will be the North Node traveling through your career house over the next year and a half. And you feel this maybe pressure around your public reputation and your ambition and success in career house, and this fullness of you, like I'll give you a fun and silly example. Like in your workplace, you have to wear black and you must tie your hair in a tight ponytail at all times. I'm making something up, and of course you're like, no, I want to wear yellow or orange. I'm wearing orange for the Leo moon today because it's fiery and I like to have my hair flowing and free like a mane, like a lion, and that's exactly a kind of restriction in the workplace maybe that you don't want. That's a really simple cartoon-like example, but there's this clash in the sky right now between things, the pressure and energy to expand in your career, which you'll be doing in the next year and a half, Leos, and the feeling of at this next 2 weeks that you need to break free of some stuck place in how you show up in the world. Blueberry water is good. This Saturn is opposing this whole story from your 7th house of your marriage and business partnerships. Now, this can be obviously a bossy spouse or business partner raining on your you be you. I'm a big flowing Leo. Leave me alone. Let me play. This could be someone out there coming back at you with negative energy, honestly. And this next 2 weeks, it's up to you to elbow your way out of that, to break out of that restriction and just be yourself. And I'm going to give you a tip here. Leo people, what happens with a Leo when the sun is in the 7th house, which is what is happening now in the sky? Anytime the sun's in Aquarius, it's in your 7th house, which is your marriage house and business partnership house, or sometimes clients. You can lose yourself to the other. You can fixate on them. You can like become codependent. You can think that your business partner and marriage partner's agenda is all that matters. Only during the time that the sun is traveling through the Aquarian part of the sky, but this is now. So this is a moon that's asking you to really ignore that tendency of this time of year where suddenly your priority is not on you, it's on the others. And I'm asking you to note if that's true now, because breaking free is involving an opposition to the sun, as every full moon is, but this is in a grand cross. Maybe when your partner or business partner or spouse asks you to do something and you really don't want to do it because you have something else planned. For example, this is your time to speak up, to roar, to roar a no thank you, thank you. All right. And Leos, you're not normally bad at that, but this is a time to really practice a little self-loving energy around what you want and who you are. Virgo, sun, moon, rising sign. So, the moon is shining a big full light on, the 16th of February on some seed you planted on around the first 2 weeks of August, really. And what is that seed? Because it's very hidden from your own view. It's in your 12th house. And the 12th house is kind of like those horses with the blinders and they really can't see their peripheral vision. That's your peripheral vision. You don't see your own 12th house. It's not easy to get a glimpse of it because it's the aversion house to the identity. So what things are percolating in your unconscious, your dreams at night, your inner life that you planted a seed in August and now it's coming to fullness in this next 2 weeks after this moon. Now, this is a house of addictions and self-undoing and bad habits that we just do, like self-sabotage, as well as hidden enemies as well. So a full moon here could shine some light on a female in your life who doesn't have your back and suddenly you can see that's true. I mean, that's for sure. But on the other hand, it's also your area of the sky just for you to do with your own inner life. So the full moon could shine a light of illumination of discovery or revelation about, oh my God, I realized that I just check out every day by, smoking weed or turning on the Netflix when I get home from work or whatever you do that checks you out or sabotages your wholeness. And this moon is in a big grand fixed cross, as I mentioned earlier, which is a real pressure cooker to break free of a straitjacket of some kind, with pressure applying from the house of higher education, foreign lands and foreign shores, and religious beliefs and institutions, as well as legal affairs and courts in your 9th house. Now, this 9th house transit of the North Node in Taurus is happening for you, Virgo risings, for a year and a half. So there's a lot of wanting to amplify, like to succeed in school, higher education, to travel the world, to expand your spiritual, religious belief structures or something like that. But in this particular 2 weeks, there's this crunchy sky, between the 12th and the 9th house, where you have to look more deeply at the propulsion of desire and grasping in the 9th house and what's really going on deeper inside you that could be contrary to the demands of the North Node. Like, should you really take that trip now? Do you really have to spend a whole night and drink 10 cups of coffee to get that assignment in for your professor? Is that really what's the most important thing? The sun is across the way in your 12th house, and it's a house of working hard, working your ass off, getting the things done, work routines and health routines as well. And Saturn is there as well. That's you being disciplined. And, you know, a lot of Virgos are getting more disciplined with their health routines and their work routines because Saturn has been here since December of 2020 and will leave in March of 23. But still, Saturn is a tough taskmaster, the god of hard work and a house of hard work. So don't be a slave to your work routines, or don't even be a slave to your health routines, right? There's something trying to break free in this part of your sky. Hope that makes sense to you guys, all right? All right. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. So for you Libra folk, you're having a full moon light shining in your glorious 11th house. Now your 11th house is your friends who can help you, you know, favors from high places. It's your dreams and wishes that you wish to come true. And it is a lucky house of pennies from heaven. It's a money house. And I wouldn't say that all of you are going to see a full moon light of pennies from heaven, but you could expect some lucky money news in the 2 weeks that follow. And don't forget, go back to some seeds you may have planted in the first couple of weeks of August during the new moon, especially after August the 9th, and see if there's any connection points to what's unfolding in these 2 weeks after the full moon. You'll find that with the North Node sending sort of pressure square energy from your 8th house of bank loans and mortgages and money from investments and money from your spouse or your business partners, and inheritances even, when that North Node is there for a year and a half. So you're going to see that theme of that part of your money sky being very much grabbing your attention, okay, over the next 18 months with the North Node transit there. But I would tell you that this is intense because this energy is really seriously going to ask you in some way to compare notes between your fruiting and fullness in the 11th house of, you know, really pennies from heaven, grace, money coming to you when you need it, friends helping you, promotions, great gains from your career directly, as opposed to like investments in crypto. And see that that's where the juice is right now. That's where the light is in your sky. And with Saturn opposing this with the sun in Aquarius in your natal 5th house of joy, you know, Saturn is making it hard for you Libras to have fun. There's no doubt about it, because your joy factor might be mitigated or dampened by Mr. Rain on Your Parade Saturn. But I want to encourage you to think about your life in terms of, am I having joy? And is there too much pressure from the house of joy and inspiration and creativity and independent business enterprise from Saturn right now? So leaning on friends as allies right now, connecting to them, letting them help you can be very much the balm of this full moon. And even if you don't do that prescriptively, because I told you to, it's quite possible that's going to happen anyway, that some friends are going to offer up something that makes your work or your creativity and your finances more joyful, more joy to you, joy to the world, you know, that kind of vibe. Yay for you, Libra people. Break on through to the other side of financial abundance with faith that pennies will fall from heaven as you need them, and love and fun can happen as well in your sky without too much hard work. Nothing worse than working hard in the fun zone of the 5th house. No, duty, responsibility as you're trying to have fun. Eek. Okay, so next, Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign, you have a full moon in your career house. Now, this is actually really good news. What happened in the first couple of weeks or so of August that you planted a seed, maybe August 9th, had 2 weeks, because now it's coming to fullness. This can be a promotion. This could be an advancement. This could be, getting more money or a raise or something, or just becoming more popular or more well-liked in your career path, in your workplace, or with the people you serve. And this full moon, this Leo energy at the top of your sky, is getting a little pressure from your marriage house or your business partnership house with the North Node at 27 Taurus. So I'm asking you to think about, you know, or legal affairs like signing legal contracts, but mostly, or clients if you have them. But there's this pressure from the house of others that's kind of at odds with what this glorious full moon is trying to do in your career house. Like a simple way of saying it was, what if the boss says, you're the best thing since sliced bread, now we want you to work on this project, but it'll involve weekends for a month only, you know, and your spouse says, I don't think so, and I want you at home, honey. Oh, you know what I mean? But you're coming to this fruiting and fullness, and you want to shine really brightly, because the soul light of your sun is going to be shining in the house of career. The sun is going to be in the domestic part of the chart with Saturn. Has your home life, domestic life somehow felt like a burden since December 20th, 2020? probably. And this is going to also help you break free of that whole thing that my home life is a burden. Like we all felt that because of lockdowns, but you might have felt an acute sense in the last year that you are in jail when you're at home, right? And now you're going to find that is going to be a call to break free of the home jail. Jailbreak your home. At the same time, you're flowing into a bright light in your career and public reputation success story. Yay, you. Yay, you. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. So Sagittarius, you're going to have the energy of the big, full, bright light of the moon shining in your ninth house. This gorgeous energy is a trine, a fire trine to your ascendant, to your identity. And so it's very flowing for you. And, you know, ninth house is like, you know, your higher education ambitions, like going to school, college, universities, learning something. It could be online learning too, if it's a longer program, like an apprenticeship or a mentorship. Oh my God, a bird just landed for you guys. A beautiful, well, it's a beautiful pigeon. It's a pigeon, but it's a dark black pigeon. I've never seen one that dark. With a lot of purple, like almost gasoline purple on green on the neck. You know, the pigeons here are usually more of a white color. That's almost like really a weird dark pigeon. I thought it was a crow. So you get a pigeon. Okay, Sagittarius. So number one, foreign travel, foreign shores, court cases, and stuff like that. That's where that moon is shining. You can shine brightly in those areas of the sky, book publishing as well, your religious and philosophical beliefs or traditions. And what's happening though, is you get a little pressure from the North Node in Taurus coming from your sixth house of hard work and health routines and the daily grind, basically, or the office coworker space. And it could somehow be at odds with this lunar light shining in the ninth house. So you want to take a trip abroad. That's a ninth house storyline. And don't go off and have a big pilgrimage or a journey somewhere. And yet you've got all this pressure in the work house. North Node is amplifying your daily work routines, your success in work, and also your health routines over the next year and a half. But all of a sudden there's this light that wants to shine in the travel house, and you're feeling like you have to stay home and work. Pay attention to the 2 weeks over the course of this moon. You're trying to get unstuck. Remember, sun is opposing the moon, which of course, that's why it's a full moon, in the third house of your local neighborhood hangouts and your siblings and your local friends and extended family. And now we have 4 pigeons on my balcony for you. And so what part of your reality is asking you to kind of like really get away from that third house limbo as well. Like, are you feeling too stuck to the local neighborhood? Do you feel like, you know, or are you doing some kind of course of study that's just too rudimentary and you want to up level to like a university level or something like that? Or are you have been busy writing something, the third house, and now it's time to actually give it to your editor or your agent, ninth house, or get it out into the published world? Don't overwork it, break free here. All right, that's an example, Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign people. All righty, moving forward. Capricorn, sun, moon, rising sign. In your sky, you're having a big, beautiful light of the full moon shining gloriously in your resources and wealth house that comes from other people's money. Now, if you're an occultist and you're into magic and occult mystery and metaphysics and dead people, then this is going to shine a light there. And those themes could be very much prevalent in the couple of weeks after this eclipse. I mean, after this moon, on the 16th of February, but pay attention to what happened back as a seed plant on the 9th of August, because now it's coming to fullness. Did you buy stock back then and now it's time to sell? Did you get an inheritance notice and now it's time to sign the documents to receive the money? You know, what kind of money is coming to you as a tax rebate because you overpaid taxes in August when you filed late? I don't know. But this money doesn't really come to you through your earnings. It comes through other means. And now it's really full. There's a fullness there and there's money there for you. Obviously, it's a full moon in your money house. There's some money to be had here or wealth to be had here. And yeah, you've got a pressure energy from the 5th house. Now, the 5th house is a romance house and sexuality. It's also a money luck house as well. You know, speculation and gaming, that kind of thing. There's a lot of energy amplifying in that part of your sky, you Capricorns, over the next 2 years, trying to amplify your joy, your fun, your play, your pleasure. Yes, you Capricorns can have that too in life. But are you willing to figure out why there's a straitjacket effect here right now? With the North Node, it's almost like you're grasping for pleasure, fun, joy, and play at the expense maybe of taking a long, hard look at eighth house matters as well. The moon could be saying, take a look at your savings, take a look at your investment structures, take a look at, can you pull off this much fun, joy, play, and pleasure and still actually, you know, feed yourself? Or is this romance draining you? Are you dating somebody who takes all of your money because they just want you to pay for everything? Are your children draining you? North Node in the fifth house over the next couple of years, next year and a half, you're going to pay more attention to your children, adult or not, than you normally do, because the North Node amplifies the house of children as well as romance. You do have the energy of the sun, of course, in Aquarius opposite the Leo eighth house, and the sun Saturn is in the house of your revenue flow, and Saturn makes it really hard here. You may feel a depression or a restriction around earnings and vocation and voice and calling and money and the way money comes to you in wage or salary or efforts you put into the world, or even possessions. You know, Saturn, you don't think you possess the right car, the right house, or it feels limiting somehow. And so this energy is pressuring against the full moon in the more resourceful wealth house of the eighth house, that you don't have to work so hard and you can leverage other people's money. So do you need to take a bank loan out right now? And is that the right move? There's something trying to break through on the money axis for you. That's where I'm going to leave it, Capricorns. Me, Aquarius rising, and us sun and moon people as well. I'm in a rising sign Aquarius. So what happens here is that we get this full, giant, lovely light in the house of others, particularly business partners and more often marriage partners or significant dating partners to whom we would commit. Now, a full moon shining a big bright light in our Leo seventh house can really focus us on other. Like I see clients all the time. And this is the seventh house of my audience as well, marketplace audience, fans, followers, you know, is 10th from the 10th house. So it's how the visible output of my career can reach other people. So, you know, maybe for someone like me in Aquarius rising who does online stuff and has a channel and teaches classes, maybe that's me about putting the spotlight there, right? No, that's me in the spotlight. No, no, no. You know, what am I doing in that seventh house? Because I'm not married, so it's not about my spouse. For you married Aquarians, though, definitely you could be full lighting your marriage and putting a lot of energy there, right? Sun in the marriage house. And you may also find, moon in the marriage house. And you may also find that it's coming from a very interesting way of feeling, because the North Node squaring from Taurus is in the home life, your private life with whoever and whomever you live with. And the North Node is expanding that, like, you know, hey, group home anyone, or a bigger home over the next year and a half. But at this next 2 months, there's some kind of pressure here from what's trying to expand in the home, and this lunar light shining in the house of others and audiences, clients, spouse, business partners, and stuff like that. There's conflict here, and you have to break free of it. And, you know, go back to August 9th or so, and had a couple of weeks, what were you trying to conceive, or what seeds were you planting that are really showing up in this gritty, fixed, grand cross sky that needs to break free now? So an example for me to make sense of it, and the sun, of course, and Saturn are in your first house of you, and you are feeling responsible, serious, sober-minded, and realistic. Yay, us, right? Saturn going through our Aquarian first house until like March of 2023. It's been there for a year. So we're kind of adulting up to the new level of our potential adulting, especially if you're an Aquarius rising. And so we're sober, serious minded, and realistic. And the sun and the Saturn are opposing this beautiful light of the moon in the seventh house of other. And then that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? But it means that because there's a grand cross in the sky, somehow things that we're doing in the home need to expand, and the light is shining on the house of other, and yet our identity is so realistic. So an example for me is I'm renting a girlfriend's place in Vancouver under the grace of her favorship, the A11th house friends. And, you know, I got a really great rent. It's just really kind of a token amount compared to what the market value is. I'm really fortunate. I got a great ocean view. It's not my place, and I need to move out so she can have it freely. And I feel that inside of me, my realistic part of me says stay because it's sober-minded Saturn. But the North Node is expanding all Aquarians' homes. We're going to have an expansion of our home base, and Uranus is there too. Radical upgrades and changes in our home. So I know I'm moving, but this pressure is there. So maybe, for example, in the 2 weeks after this moon happens, I will have a full moon light in the house of the other. So someone wants to roommate with me somewhere else, or I hear of a property that I want to sign a contract for, because contracts and legal documents that we sign, like a lease, are seventh house things, and that's where the moon is shining. So, and in a nutshell, Aquarians, there's a lot of focus on the others right now as the light of the moon shines there. Don't forget not to be pressured by Saturn to be constricted and too realistic. Dream a bit bigger and let that North Node expansion in the fourth house of home open up some gateways around better home life, domestic life, and location as well. Finally, a Pisces sun, moon, rising sign people. So Pisces, you guys are having this incredibly powerfully beautiful big moon, but also don't forget in a cross, big grand fixed cross happening in your natal sixth house of work and health routines. Now, a lot of you Pisces, therefore, will be spending time focusing on health routines as well as work routines now in the next 2 weeks. And you're coming to a fullness of a way that you planted seeds in that area of your sky starting back in August. So what were you doing in August? And think back, because that is now fullness is coming here. Your sixth house can also be a house of sickness. And if you've had any kind of sickness happen to you, and you think the seeds of that may have been planted even in August, now we're having a big bright light of revelation and illumination, a full moon here, giving you the light you need to see around the solutions perhaps to health challenges or sicknesses that could be occurring. With the Saturn and the sun, Saturn is going through your 12th house. That's a hermit, contemplative, cave dwelling, wise men, wise woman sort of vibe. And it's been in place now for about a year and will be there till March of 2023. So you're kind of very much already self-reflective and introspective. And Saturn can really kick out your bad habits and self-undoing, or make you look at them squarely as he goes through this part of your sky. But this moon is opposite the sun and Saturn in your 12th house. So what ways do you undo yourself? And it could cause you to have health challenges, right? Or how can you look at the 12th house of soul work, Reiki, and quantum healing, hypnosis, and weird stuff like that, non-ordinary magical stuff, to heal your body, because that is what happens in the 12th house. And with pressure coming from the North Node in your third house, is there a way that things to do with your local neighborhood don't serve this, and it's kind of squishy, I want to break out of that local neighborhood, or your local friends are not really down to help you, or your extended family is not really available, or something's going on with the third house, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends in the hood. That's North Node is expanding that, just FYI. Like over the next year and a half, a lot of Pisces are going to change their neighborhoods, change their local friendship groups, maybe get closer to extended family, including siblings, learn some kind of new skills-based education. That's a longer arc of the nodal cycle. But during this next 2 weeks, there's a lot of pressure from that part of the sky I just described. Lastly, travel. You want to get on a plane, train, or automobile. That's a third house thing. And the North Node is pressuring you to do that. It wants you to travel somehow, wants you to get thinking about that over the next 2.5 years, time for a trip. But there's some pressure, right, in the sky, especially the sun in the 12th house. How are you self-undoing the possibility of travel? The moon is shining a big bright light in the 6th house of your health and health protocols and work and karmic debt. You might feel stuck or trapped in your neighborhood right now, or unable to get on that plane or train. And so something's trying to break through and break free. All right. And if you have a chance to study in a course or take some skills-based learning class in the next couple of weeks after the moon, I think that could be a part of the breaking free with the North Node there as well. So keep your eye on the ball for that possibility. All right, best I could do to parse this moon for everybody. I hope that was useful. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. I would really, truly appreciate it. Check out my course below. It's about the soul of money, using astrology to hack your abundance codes in your natal chart. Ciao, ciao.